Tim, some people have written in, and some of our listeners have asked questions about when things go south in a relationship, when things start to go bad and there's conflict. A lot of people deal with some things in an unhealthy way, right? It goes south because they're running from this, they're hiding, or else they're kind of in anger, yelling out at people. So when a person is dealing with this in a relationship, what advice are you going to give them when things start to head down that pretty negative spiral path?
Right, and this is just hypothetical because me and my wife have never had arguments. So I'm just going to give you the theoretical.
Okay. Well, you can use us as an example because there's enough there.
No, I like to say that an argument has always started the night before, or the day before, or the week before. Mm-hmm. So sometimes arguments explode because people have let things build up over time. Yeah. And so we have a saying in our marriage that it wasn't the muffin, right? I didn't get angry that you made muffins in the morning. I was angry about X, Y, and Z, and I let that build up over time. So we call that the one-sentence explosion sometimes. You say one thing, and you get a month's worth of frustration, anger, and that kind of makes the conversation very difficult.
Tim, people argue about many of the same things, muffins, but it's oftentimes things like money, right? And one of the most common conflicts and arguments for people to face, roommates, marriages, kid schedules, things like how do you deal with discipline if you're married. Another one that people talk about is different ways in which we deal with stress. So work or school stress spills over. So these things are common for people, right? And these are the events people argue about. What happens now that you've blown up, you feel this rush of energy, of emotion, right? Now you're flooded with this hormone. Now you're kind of dealing with this moment. As you begin to go through this, what advice for people who are in the middle of these kinds of things?
Yeah, I can think of two things, Chris. One is what we call bracketing. So let's say we're going to talk about finances, right? We just feel like, I feel like our spending is really getting out of control. So that's going to be the topic. Now, there's no doubt that that topic is going to launch other things. You're going to want to talk about X, Y, and Z, even though you're trying to talk about finances. It's really good to bracket that. And as those really good things come up, I would say, listen, absolutely the kids' schedules are out of whack. I agree with you there, but we're talking about finances right now. So let's stay here on finances and let's return to the kids' schedule later. That's for a different conversation. So as much as possible, stay on point, stay on topic as much as possible.
Okay. So if you do that now, you must be able to, I would imagine, self-calm is a word, right?
Yeah.
Bring down that amount of energy that you're feeling. Some ways I think we can do that better would be to recognize when we're feeling that our tendency to either run and hide or our tendency to kind of lash out could be the sign for us to say, you know what, maybe I need to take a pause, a timeout. Do you recommend timeouts?
Oh, I think that's great. So long as it isn't used manipulatively, right? So I take a timeout anytime you make a good point. Yeah, I just need a timeout and you kind of walk out of the room. I would also add one thing that some good friends of ours have added. They often say, do you want a mulligan on that one? Would you like a do-over? Because, sometimes you say something and it just didn't come out right, or the way the person's hearing it. So they might say, okay, do you want to do a mulligan on that? Do you want to kind of say that again? And it might be, yeah, I'm sorry, that didn't come out the way I intended it to do. So we can't avoid conflict, Chris, but understand that conflict often happens way before you actually sit down and talk about it. And during it, it's good to bracket, it's good to self-calm as much as possible, and it'd be really good every once in a while to give each other a do-over.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I have found really helpful for me is recognizing that the event is one thing, right? We're arguing about, let's say, being late or someone not being sensitive to another person. I think what really helps me is to recognize there are deeper feelings there involved oftentimes in our conflict. So money is one thing, but I start to feel things like out of control, or I begin to feel like this is about security. And when we spend too much, or when we, whatever it is, that deeper emotion is really helpful. What do you think about diving down deep and trying to figure out what's kind of fueling these conflicts?
Yeah, the book of Proverbs says that a man's thoughts are deep waters. So so there are things that provoke a reaction in me. To be honest, it's hard for me to figure out exactly what's going on. So sometimes that's great to stop and say, hey, how are you feeling right now? What is this conversation about finances provoking in you? Is it recalling your family background where maybe you didn't have as much money as you wanted to or something like that? So obviously we can't, in one quick session, mention everything that can go wrong in our relationship or our conversation and everything to do to fix it. So we just suggest you use this quick video as a launching point to check out our blogs, check out resources on our website.